My wonderful, lovely people. A pleasant afternoon to everybody. All right, beauties. I saw something on the news last evening, which I have to really and truly vlog on because it is something that if we don't deal with it effectively and efficiently and stridently, our country is going to be in serious problems. So I'm watching the news yesterday and it said 88% of the students in schools, and I don't know if it's across the board in terms of from, kindergarten or basic school to kindergarten basic, same, prep, primary, secondary, even maybe tertiary in a sense, but it really was talking about early childhood education. It really was zoning in on that because they had a male and a female student speaking. They were quite eloquent, but that doesn't represent the entire whole or the entire populace, or the majority, I should say. Even though they had articulated what they were saying quite, seamlessly, and their critical thinking skills was on par. It wasn't really subpar for their age. So they sounded like they were beyond their years, so to speak. And, when they were interviewing someone, we really struggle with poor reading in Jamaica. It is in crisis. Libraries are perhaps losing its stronghold. And, they even made an analogy between them and Sweden, that there are some sections in Sweden, that they're reverting to the analog instead of the digital because they need to improve reading and critical thinking skills. Most people, they're not going to use a Kindle or with an iPad or a tablet to read. They're probably surfing the internet, looking on TikTok, looking at different things. So we're having a crisis here as it relates to reading. And you can listen to people when they speak. I know oftentimes you will hear people say that you'll hear people speak and how they speak is not how they write, or how they write they may not speak. There can be truth to that. However, if we are in a long discourse with somebody, it tells a story of where they're at in terms of their literacy. Some years ago, and not too long ago, not many years ago, it was during the height of COVID, I had done a research on where we are as it relates to our literacy or illiteracy, and we were at 138th or 137th place. And the other countries that were below us were impoverished, really indigent, really poverty-stricken countries. So technically, if we leave those countries out, we're almost last place. For westernized country, a country that has been exposed to AI, to advanced technology. And I want a lot of people to listen to, when they talk about the pros and the cons, the negatives, the cons of not being able to read or not being able to read properly. And it says here, the inability to read or to read properly can have several significant disadvantages, both personally and socially. 1, limited access to information. Reading is essential for accessing news, instructions, and educational materials. Without this skill, people may miss out on vital information, which is true. Educational challenges. Literacy is the foundation of most learning. Struggles with reading often lead to poor academic performance, naturally, and limited educational opportunities. 3, employment barriers. Many jobs require reading skills for tasks such as understanding instructions, safety protocols, or writing reports. Illiteracy can drastically limit career options, which is true. It doesn't matter what you're even going to. Reduced independence. Tasks like reading signs, labels, prescriptions, or bills become difficult, which can make daily life more dependent on others. And you don't want to be like a crutch where people are concerned, because they will, to your disadvantage, to their advantage, they will use you. Poorer health outcomes. Reading is essential for understanding medical instructions, health education materials, appointment details. This can affect personal management. Sorry about that, beautiful people. So it says this can actually affect personal management, or personal health management, I should say. Low self-esteem and confidence. People who struggle with reading may feel shame or feel ashamed or embarrassment, some semblance of embarrassment, which can impact their mental health, yes, and social interactions. Limited civic participation. Inability to read limits engagement in democratic processes, such as understanding voting materials or political information. And it says how, I was even looking at how it impacts different age groups and communities. And it says children and youth. Academic setbacks. Children who struggle with reading often fall behind in school, which can affect their performance in all subjects. Social isolation. They may feel embarrassed or avoid group activities, leading to low self-esteem and social withdrawal. Limited future opportunities. Poor reading skills early on can limit access to higher education and career development later. For adults, employment difficulties. Adults may be unable to apply for jobs, complete forms, or follow written instructions, limiting job prospects and earning potential. Dependency. They may rely on others to read documents, medication labels, or legal papers, affecting their independence. And again, especially as an adult, whilst they may find, there will be some grace to children, not so much for adults. Parenting challenges. Parents who cannot read struggle to help their children with schoolwork or communicate effectively with teachers. Elderly. Healthcare risks. Seniors who struggle with literacy may misread prescriptions, health warnings, or appointment reminders. Financial vulnerability. They are more susceptible to scams or financial mismanagement due to difficulty understanding financial documents. Rural or undeserved communities. Underserved. My apologies, not undeserved. I was like, undeserved. Underserved communities. Education gaps. Limited access to quality education can lead to higher illiteracy rates. Economic stagnation. Communities with lower literacy levels often face higher unemployment and poverty rates. That goes without saying. Remember, I talked about us being in 137th or 138th place, and it's only the indigent, the impoverished countries, far and wide, that would fall under, same. Limited civic voice. Residents may find it hard to engage with public policy, read legal documents, or participate meaningfully in local governance. Listen to me. The group or the individual or the people that head the list are parents. It is incumbent upon parents to ensure that their child, especially at a tender age, get the early childhood education. Even if you're illiterate as a parent, you need to read the story of that doctor there that was considered the first black doctor to separate the Siamese twins. And he was in politics for a short stint, I think. His mother, when he became a doctor, that is when he knew his mother was illiterate. Because she made it her effort, a concerted effort, that her son would not be illiterate and he will do very well. He would supersede her leaps and bounds, which he did academically. So it is incumbent upon the parents, as I said, predominantly. It doesn't mean that the teachers or external relevant people should not contribute, but the onus is really on the parents. Yes, on the students, but when you're a child, you're going to operate as a child and understand as a child. So you're going to need that guidance. Parents, many of you are guilty parties. You have not made that effort to ensure that your child is a good reader. You have to make your calling and election sure. Anyway, guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. subscribe and give me one of those lions. Thank you.